What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the, You're in my shot, pal. Okay. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the brand new Jordan Peele movie, Us. This is one of my most anticipated films of the year. I am a huge fan of Get Out, a massive fan of Jordan Peele as a content creator. We're talking movies and Key and Peele and TV shows and directing and producing. The man can do it all, but can he deliver on his sophomore effort, filmmaking-wise? And that's what we are talking about today. I want you guys to get down in the comments section below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you looking forward to it? If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. No spoilers in this video. It's going to be hard because this is a very spoilerific movie and it could be difficult to talk about without diving deep. So if you guys want to see a spoiler review, let me know in the comments down below, but this is non-spoiler and let's get into this review. So a family's serenity turns to chaos when a group of doppelgangers begins to terrorize them. And you know, I tend to be pretty happy in my reviews, but I want to get the negatives out of the way first because I want to structure this review a tad bit differently. I was very much looking forward to this film, and there were some things I was hesitant about. You look at a film like Get Out, and yes, there are horror elements, but it also feels like a thriller, and there is definitely a social message in there. It's a different style of horror film. It kind of changed the game if you really think about it. Us is more of a conventional horror movie. It plays more on the horror tropes and even has some horror tropes, and some may look at that and say, well, this film feels very predictable and conventional and cliche. And I completely disagree with that. I think there are elements of predictability in there. One plot twist in particular, I'm giving nothing away. I'm not even going to hint at it, but I predicted it very early on in the film, and sure enough, that happened. Not telling you when it happened, but I'm sure if you have seen the movie, you kind of know what I am talking about. It is the biggest reveal in the entire film. I saw that coming, my wife saw it coming, and not that it ruined the experience because it didn't. It's just one of those things I'm like, I wish I could have been a bit more surprised. It's also a film that you just have to rewatch. Us is not a one-time viewing. Let me tell you guys, this is a film you're going to have to watch multiple times because there are so many things in there, so many questions that I still don't have answers to. I know they're out there, and I know I'm going to find most of them. Now, a few of them you're not going to find answers to because it leaves things up in the air. Some things are just going to be left unknown, but you know what? There is a poster hanging above me, and I know his head's chopped off, but one of my favorite villains of all time, the Joker, you don't know where he comes from. You don't know his origins. You just know he is here now, and he is making his presence known as one of the greatest villains of all time, and that's kind of how I feel about this story. Just because you don't have all the answers about the origin of certain elements of this story doesn't mean it takes away from the actual story, because the story itself and the characters and where the movie goes and the plot and the cinematography and the directing and the score, all of it is so kooky and crazy and insane, but entertaining. So entertaining. And it turns out that for me anyway, Us is an amalgamation of so many things that I love. They all come together to create a very cohesive project, and they gave me a movie that I loved every single minute. Even if I thought certain elements were a bit over the top, a bit kooky, I have an issue with a certain character's voice in this movie. Not necessarily a major problem, just like, oh, it's a bit weird, a bit off-putting, but it was creepy, and I'll give it that. But those are all just minor quips, guys. I love this movie. I told you I just wanted to get my negatives out of the way. Now I get a chance to praise this film for what it really is. It is a movie that is taking chances and doing things that you rarely see in the horror genre. I said it has some of these tropes, and it does, but it plays on those tropes in a way that is so clever and so funny at times. This movie is the perfect blend of horror and comedy. It's very modern comedy, very straightforward comedy. The comedy is not over the top. Where it goes over the top is when it hits on those horror elements and those horror aspects. Not necessarily a jump scare-esque kind of film, and I like that. It's more creepy. The audience following the buildup of certain events, and then all of a sudden it hits you and you're just like, oh my gosh, whether it's the imagery or the blood or the violence or the gore, and that's all in there. There is a lot of violence and blood in this movie, and certain characters go crazy and they do things you never expected them to do. And I love the fact that I was so invested in this family from the get-go, the very first scene. I was sitting there going, okay, maybe it's the fact that it's Winston Duke and Lupita Nyong'o, and they're two of the best actors in the business, and I'm saying that right now because after this film, they are not just, oh, it's M'Baku from Black Black Panther. No, they are so talented. They can do so much more than just play supporting roles in a superhero film. They both carry this movie. Lupita Nyong'o, really, she is the main character. It follows her. And while certain events are happening to her character, you're starting to question the mentality of certain characters and what is actually going on, because trust me, you are going to think something is happening and then something else is going to happen. And then at the end, it just grows. This story starts out very small, and it is small through the majority of the film. And then you realize, oh my gosh, the stakes are not just here. They are here. They are massive. Things are going on that you never could have predicted from the trailer, and I love that. And I told you guys there's one element of this film that I did predict, but everything else, literally everything, I had no clue what was coming. I had my predictions for sure, but when it did something that I didn't expect it to do, I like when a movie can do that, can surprise me. And other than that one thing, it surprised me so much along the way, and I was so hooked on these characters and hooked on this family. And the kids were really good. There were times when I looked at the little boy and I'm like, he's not showing enough emotion here, but then you learn more about his character and you're like, oh, that's just him in this situation. The little girl, she's awesome. She's BA. But Winston Duke, Lupita Nyong'o, it was great to see Elizabeth Moss, but I have to give kudos to our main two stars here because they were incredible. But the real star of this movie is Jordan Peele. His directing was so fluid, the way that he handled his actors and actresses. I love the shot selection and the cinematography. I know I'm always talking about cinematography. I'm a DP guy, what can I say? But from the first shot of this film, I'm like, yep, really digging this, and it kept going. And as you follow her character in that first scene and you're seeing things from her perspective, the camera movement, looking at your surroundings, and there is this slow buildup that happens multiple times through the movie where there is no dialogue and you are just there with the character experiencing things. And that's the human emotion that Jordan Peele manages to bring out from all of his characters. Even when the kookiest and craziest thing is happening on screen, you still feel like this is happening. I told you guys there were decisions made with the horror elements that were a bit over the top, and I'm like, that's a little bit too much for me. But then you gravitate back towards those characters, and I believed it. I believed everything that happened. I love this movie. It is so different and unexpected, and it's something I have to go back and rewatch. I did have minor issues, and those were issues that I wanted to hit on because I don't just want to sit here and praise the movie for all of its glory and goodness. And that glory and goodness is there absolutely. When you can mix horror and comedy and just outlandish elements this well into a film that makes you think and makes you walk out of the theater going, okay, what in the world just happened? I've been thinking about it for an hour. When we got home, my wife and I sat and we went, okay, what was this all about? How does this tie in? What was that final shot? What's happening there? Then my wife starts crawling around on the ground and making the weird face that they do in the movie. But you know what? That's a testament to this film. I think it's going to stick with people. And I have to say, I think Us is my favorite movie of 2019. And because of all of those things, I'm not going to round it to 10. I wanted to. I do have minor issues, but I do want to go back and revisit it to see if those issues can be solved by figuring more things out about the plot. I'm going to give this movie a 92%, the highest score I have given all year. Us, I'm going to spoil it. You don't even have to go to my Letterboxd page. Us is my favorite movie of 2019 so far. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a blast watching this film. I will have an even better time reading the comments down below. I want you guys to tell me what you thought of this film. You are the absolute best. I will be back tomorrow with a lot of Netflix stuff, and then Saturday, Shazam! No lightning strike. I'll see you guys very soon.